Good evening. I'm Howard Garrett, chair of the Williamson County Democratic Party Diversity Committee, and your host for tonight's live event. Thank you for joining us as we dig deep into the mission of the Equity Alliance, a Nashville-based 501c3 nonpartisan, nonprofit organization that seeks to equip citizens with tools and strategies to engage in the civic process and empower them to take action on issues affecting their everyday lives. The Equity Alliance believes in using their voting power as a weapon in the fight for social and economic justice, and Williamson County Democratic Party is here to support this mission with action. The Williamson County Democratic Party is fighting for the lives and well-being of Tennesseans and the future of our country. It's time to push progress forward in Williamson County and across the state of Tennessee. And together we can be a catalyst for real change. It's an honor to introduce to you the Community Relations Manager of the Equity Alliance, someone who I consider a friend, Raquel Woodard. Hi, Raquel.
Hi, Howard.
How are you? Let me introduce you. Growing up in Tennessee with parents as an educator, giving back has always been Raquel's foundation. At childhood, she understood and believed in the power to give people knowledge to ensure a better community, economy, and nation. A graduate from Middle Tennessee State University, she majored in political science and minored in criminal justice. Everyone has a calling, and this is definitely hers. As an organizer, she is that bridge to help fill the gap and make sure that democracy is best achieved when everyone participates. Everyone, I want to welcome you, Raquel Woodard, who is my friend. Raquel, here you are, and we are so glad to have you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Williamson County. Hello, Williamson County Democratic Party. Big shout out to Nashville, the state of Tennessee. Howard, thank you. Courtney, and to the entire staff. Big shout out. Thank you first for inviting me because, as my mother would always say, nobody has to do nothing for you. So they either do it because they like you a little bit or love you a whole lot. So thank you guys for the opportunity. But also, I'm just so excited to be in front uh, of a great wide virtual workspace of people, especially in Facebook world. I'm just I'm ready to empower some people. I'm ready to engage some people, but I'm also ready to educate some people because let me tell you a little bit about myself. As you heard what Howard has said, but the reason why I'm in this and the reason why I'm in this fight is because I've always said this, it's bigger than me, it's bigger than you, and this is bigger than us. And that's my motto. That's what I live by because it definitely is. And when we start thinking that way, we can make a bigger and deeper impact into our own communities, definitely. But remember, it's bigger than you, it's bigger than us. Howard?
Thank you so much, Raquel. We appreciate you for being here, but let's go ahead and get started. Tell us the story about the Equity Alliance and how long have you been around and what is your current mission?
The Equity Alliance is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, of course, that was founded by four awesome, wonderful, trailblazing Black women. And the goal for that was to, of course, educate, engage, but also build the equity of the Black and Brown community. It started for just Nashville, but since 2019 to 2020, we have become statewide because our statewide mission is deeply as important because if we can change Nashville, then clearly we can change the state and make it impactful, but also build the capacity of the Black and Brown community statewide.
I found this on your website and want to share this with those watching because I think it's important. We
Mhm.
believe that when you know better, you do better. We seek to educate individuals and communities on how to become better informed, engaged, and productive members of society. What can we do to become better informed, engaged, and productive members of society?
First, education is key. Educate yourself. It doesn't, and I know some folks they say, well, I've been to school, I've been to college, but you don't know everything, and none of us do. I've always been taught if you never change and if you're never learning, then what are you here for? So if you think you've already learned everything, then clearly this is not for you. But if you are willing to take time to invest and learn, not just about your own community, but learn about other communities and how we can help, but not help, but come together to build a larger community that's focused on helping each other. It's not because, again, it's bigger than you, it's bigger than us, and it's bigger than me. It's never about me. And it shouldn't ever just be about one individual. Instead, this is about us. How do you help your community? How do you engage? How do you build? But also, what can I do? I don't, you may not have the tools, you may not have the money, but you always have the gift and you always have the key to do the task. I tell the people in my own community that that want to start a work or they want to be especially young people. This is what I say. I say, you already have the gift. All you have to do is just have the the gumption and the push to do it. So what do you want to do? How do you want to make an impact? Newspaper? Newspaper article, you're a big writer, you're a big investor, use what you have to help your community. But then after you help your community, you have to think about everyone else's, because if we learn how to unite together and build this big relationship, then we can definitely change the trajectory of the state of Tennessee. How do you engage in your community? How do you help? What do you do? First, you just start. Period.
And I
Start.
think I think that's important. You made a great point. I think education is always the key, because not only does that help you stay engaged, not only does that make you productive, but it makes you relevant to the community in which you're serving. Because a lot of times we want to get involved, and we want to do stuff of what worked in the past. But if we're not relevant to the needs of the community at that point in time, then what we bring to the table will not be effective in changing the community and moving the community forward. So I appreciate that. It's important to stay educated, stay engaged, and be productive, but to put all that together to be relevant. So
Yes.
that's really good.
I love that. The
Yeah.
relevancy is key, Howard,
Yeah.
because if you don't know and you're not current, then really you're gonna miss a target. You're gonna miss a mark. The one thing about the Equity Alliance that I did not say is that we meet people where they are. That's how we move. That's how we build our power, because we meet each community where they are. We're not trying to change the community by changing them. No, we meet them where they are, and then we can help make the change. See the difference? Go ahead.
That is you got to meet people where they are. That lays the perfect foundation. Amazing. Tell us more about the mission to engage and empower citizens to take action and make their voices heard. I love this. We resist, persist, join forces, call, write, petition, assemble, and most importantly, vote. So tell us how we can tell us more about the mission to engage and empower citizens.
Howard, our mission is statewide now. It is, and I'm excited that we are statewide, because Nashville just can't do it on its own. Memphis can't do it just on its own, and neither can Chattanooga. But we are the volunteer state, and volunteer state means that somebody has to come together. That means that there's a united front that takes place. I hate the division, and being divided is so awful. So with the Equity Alliance, our goal is to build relationships statewide. And as a matter of fact, I am your relationship builder. I am she, because I get to touch every bit of Tennessee, especially our rural counties, because they need the most love, because it's the disparities and just the systematic issues that are in place with our rural counties. They're so hard, because I'm a rural county native. Robertson County is my spot, but the things that we have to fight, especially for black and brown folks in the rural county, in the rural communities, it's a little bit different. But we need the support of these larger cities. And that's how we do that. That's why we engage, Howard. That's why we educate. But then that's how, again, about building that power, and building that power. We build the power so we can create policies and legislation, because I'm going to say this all night. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than us, and it's bigger than this. It's always bigger than what you see. So if we build that community, then we can change. We can make the policies and the changes that that community is seeking. Because you just can't push people out to the polls and vote, and you just can't engage people just into the community. Because what are you doing it for? What's the main motive? Well, the main motive is we have to change policies and make them equitable for everyone in the state of Tennessee. And that's our goal, that's our mission, that's our focus, and that's what we do.
And I think that's important as well. It goes with building a community because a lot of times, especially in the black and brown communities, politicians only show up when it's time to vote. And they'll pull all these policies in front of your face and say, vote for me, vote for me. But you haven't been here in my community when we're struggling. You haven't been here when all these developers come in and try to take our home and housing away and kick us out. And that's why I'm very appreciative of the Equity Alliance, because you guys show up, meet people where they are, help them out, and then build the foundation to pull them to the polls. And once you build that community and build relationships, it's not hard. And people are wanting to go to the polls because they know that you have their best interests at heart, rather than coming trying to sell them your vote and just pull them to the poll and never see them back again. And this kind of goes into our fourth question. In the Williamson County Democratic Party, we just recently launched a committee to watch and report on legislative updates that also has something to do with the Equity Alliance that you guys are currently doing. How can we work together to hold our state accountable and hold our local elected officials accountable?
I love that, because accountability is key. And I don't think the community, either community, understands that we have the power to hold the people that we elect accountable. That is our duty, because if you vote for them, you have the right, we say, to be on their necks. And if you want me to make it sweet, you have the right to just call your call your councilman, call your senator, call your legislator. You have the right to email them. You have the right to show up and say, hey, I don't like what's going on because you promised us, you made a promise to our community for this thing, and now since you're in your seat, you did not keep your promises. So therefore, you we will take your seat. And and Howard, that's our thing. We believe in taking seats. If you're not going to do what you promised the community, the people that elected you in that position to do, then again, we will take your seat, because it's about the people of the state of Tennessee, and it's bigger than our politicians. We elect them to do the job and to do the work, and not to just get into office and not think of us at all. So how do we do that together, you say? Simple. We just started it by having a conversation. I love it because and I think about my father and my mother, and one thing, communication is key. And I've always been taught that if you communicate and you have a conversation, whatever the issue is or whatever you disagree on, once you have that conversation, you actually can clear the water. Because you know how people say, well, you muddied the water. Well, you can clear the water. So we need to start having conversations like this. And that's what builds capacity and builds communities and builds relationships. But also then we get to that power movement. And then again, we can be on their necks of each legislator, councilman, or whoever official that's in office, because we understand that the community comes first, the people come first.
And I think that's important. This is the perfect time to start these conversations, especially like after the election, I know a lot of people in Williamson County and across the state are just fired up, and ready to get involved, ready to get their feet wet, trying to figure out where they fit in. And I think now that we're having these conversations and building these relationships and educating people, they will be able to find their niche and where they belong in their community to build community, to press their local legislators, and but most importantly, drive voter turnout, because Tennessee ranks 48th voter in overall voter turnout. Sadly, we also rank 40th in voter registration. And this is not by accident, but we must flip this stat on its head. What can we do to help people get to the polls?
We tap into the Equity Alliance. Is that not the easiest thing to say? I don't want to be cocky, because I'm not a cocky person, but we're always out in the community. We're always doing the work. We're right now in Chattanooga preparing for the Chattanooga election for March the 2nd. And guess what we're doing every weekend? And we also, number one, we already have people on the ground in Chattanooga. But every weekend, I've been going to Chattanooga, me and a team of people, and we touch that community. We build up with we push the voter guide, because I need to plug that out. We push our voter guide because the voter guide is important. The Tennessee voter guide, but then we call it the Chattanooga voter guide. We call it the Memphis voter guide, Nashville voter guide. Our voter guide is actually essential because it has everything you need for elections. It has every bit of information, but also it educates you on what to do at the polls. It educates you on your rights. It gives you an education on policy, but it also tells you about every candidate. So one thing, tap into the Equity Alliance, because we already have the pieces that you can use to get into the community. The voter guide, but also, again, we're in Chattanooga. We're headed to Memphis for the DA races. That's the thing. If you wanna get involved and get in this work, but also make the change, get people out to the polls, come and volunteer with us. We need all types of volunteers. We need donations to keep doing the work. But we also, I always tell people, a thousand feet is better than $1,000,000 any day with this movement, because when people are on the ground, again, Howard, it's that relationship building, because then you build up a trust, you build up that foundation, and each community, they trust you to do the work, they trust you to do the job, but also they stick with you because you're sticking with them, because really nobody has.
Mhm.
Nobody has, especially our politicians. But hey, you have a group of people that are out here doing the work that want to engage you. Tap into them, tap into us, because when I tell you, it will be key but helpful for every community, not just the Black and brown, but for every community. That's how you get the work. That's how you push people to the polls. Because number one, let's talk about voter suppression and
Mhm.
how we have systems and policies already in place, or the fact that we have a governor and a legislator that wants to take away early voting, which voting is a right and key. If we didn't have early voting, our voting system would be partay. Okay, so so when I say this, and I'm trying to be cool, and they said to have a conversation like I'm talking to my friend, so I am. But the policies and the systems that they have in place, especially for voting for Black and brown people, and even women, it's getting now it's getting a little harder, and it's almost unfair. So if we all come together on a united front, then the folks who are trying to make these decisions, instead of instead of the communities being afraid of them, they will be afraid of us, because then they see that we understand the power that we have. My goal and my job, and what I really love, Howard, is that my mission is to make sure that each person understands the power that they have, the power to create the change they seek, the power that to have to keep these legislators accountable, but also the power to change policy because they're sick and tired of what they see around them. We have the power because the people, the preamble says, we the people, not the legislator, not individuals, not this race, not that race. No, we the people. We are striving to make a more perfect union. We're not perfect yet, but if we can do this together and we can do this on a united front, then we can make the change that we seek because it's bigger than you, it's bigger than me, and it's bigger than us.
And that's important. I mean, to talk about the systems, because they've kept our community back, and our community, Black and Brown communities, we feel like we've lost our power, we lost our vote, because those things have been stripped away from us. But the power is still there, and it's the purpose of the system to make us forget that we don't have the power. But this is why I am so glad that Williamson County, is supporting the Equity Alliance that's founded by Black strong women, who is the backbone of our democracy. And I'll say that to the day I die, and I want everyone to hear it. And I'm so glad to support. We have the Stacey Abrams here within the Equity Alliance, and if we put our voices, but most importantly, put our money where our mouth is, we'll be able to flip Tennessee. And I have so much faith in Tennessee that we're going to get there. We just need all hands in the bowl. So we're going to
Yes.
pause for station identification. And we are going to, since we've talking about support, can you tell us about how can people support the Equity Alliance before we go to our next question, and tell us about the Pledge 21 and how people can donate monthly?
Yes. Go to our website at www.theequityalliance.org and donate. Definitely donate because it takes money to do any type of work. But also you can volunteer there. Right now we have phone banks going on in Chattanooga. Please join a phone bank if you want to make phone calls. If not, it's cool. Volunteer with us. We have a place for you. Trust me, we have a spot and a place for you with the Equity Alliance, especially through volunteering. That every step of the way, we have our vote mob, we have our volunteer team that's always on the street. Then we also have just our donors. Our donors are definitely key because they keep the movement going, they keep the movement building, but they also just, I love our donors because they ensure that they have a voice. So please donate, but also I love the 21 challenge because it just takes 21. You can either do your $21 in a bulk, you can do it in 21 days. However you want to do your 21 challenge. It's like playing 21 blackjack. Just make sure you get in there, and also that is on our website as well. If not, please go to our social media outlets, which is our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. Trust me, you can volunteer at those outlets as well. We are plugged in. Speaking of plugged in, so every fourth Thursday of the month, we have statewide community plug-ins, and that's where each community, you're able to plug in with us, and you get and you're able, we call it the tea. You're able to get the current tea of what's going on politically, what's going on economically, what's going on socially. This month's topic, February the 25th, will be education and where the money resides. Hot topic. Why? Because we're fighting for our schools. We're fighting for our babies. We're fighting for our teachers because we don't agree. But also our mothers and our parents, our fathers of those sweet babies, they need understanding, they need education, but they also need to plug in because what you see on the news, what you hear, you might not get everything, but we're going to have the facts. We're going to have we're going to have senators speaking. We're going to have representatives from TEA speaking. We're going to have legislators speaking. When I tell you, and we definitely have our very own Kristen Buggs, who is all education in Nashville, Tennessee, Metro Nashville. She will be a representative. So we will have folks that we're not going to have somebody, and we don't do that. We're not going to have anybody that's not going to give the facts, but also tell you what to do and tell you the truth. And I love that. So please plug in and trust me, each month we'll have a different topic. And that's where you get to you get to learn, you get to engage, and you get to educate yourself, but also you get to plug in. So I hope that all of that, I hope you got it. But if you need me to repeat it, because I'm all about the engagement, community engagement, and we need people, and I need you. So join us, join the team.
Yes, join me. I've already pledged to be a pledge 21 monthly donor. So I'll challenge all my friends and people from the Williamson County Democratic Party to join me and a couple other people. If you already a pledge 21 donor, put it in the comments, because money will help us grow. Money will help us be stable, but most importantly, move the mission forward. So I appreciate you guys for doing that. Raquel, we do have a question from the audience. For Christy B wants to know, what can she, as a white privileged woman in Williamson County, do to move Tennessee forward to a more equitable state?
First of all, Christy B, you just did it. You asked the question. Second, you want to engage. I would love for you to volunteer with the Equity Alliance, first of all, but also because that would be great. But then also, what are you doing? How are you touching your own community? How, are you involved? Would you like to get involved? And if you do, talk to me on the. I would love to um, assist people because I love doing that. Email me or just call me, and I'll plug that all up with Howard, and then I can allow you to tap into some organizations, some places where you will be able to fit, but also that you will be able to make an impact. Again, first start with your community though. What are you doing there? What are you doing to make a change? But if you don't even know how to do that, call me, ask me. I can give you great ideas. I can give you some tools, because it's all just takes one step. For example, with the census, you know what I did, and I loved it so much. I just got the ice cream man and asked him, "Can I ride with you around the city to give ice cream to families, mothers, fathers, children, anybody? And just while I'm giving ice cream, can you fill out the census?" Simple, huh? Easy. And if you don't know the ice cream man, well, guess what else we did? We made little cards that said, we just want to say we love you. How can we help you?" And we took them around, a group of us. We had a bag of chips, a Ziploc bag with a water in it, and maybe some Kleenex, and a little card that says, "How may we help you? We love you." And we did a deep wide canvas. But just because you do a canvas does not mean that you're knocking on doors, getting somebody to vote or introducing a candidate. Guess what else you can canvas with? By meeting people and touching your own neighborhood and checking on your neighbors. And that's all we did. We walked around and checked on our neighbors and gave them a care package to make sure, let you know that we love you, that somebody's here, and that's it, and that's all. And you walk away because you're just trying to, I always say this, you're not trying to change a person, you're just trying to change a heart or even heal a heart. And I know that was a long answer. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're good. Meeting people where they are. That's amazing. The last question I have for Carol is, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about running for office? And this is important for us because in Williamson County, we do have a couple of races coming up in Spring Hill. We have one in Brentwood, and then we have one coming up in Franklin. And so that's our drive right now, is getting people to run for office. So what advice would you give someone who is thinking about running for office?
Jump in. Yes, because I feel like this is what I believe. I believe that something has to kick, and everybody has your lot in your community. Some people are servants, some people are the givers, but somebody has to run for that seat. Somebody has to run for that position to ensure that we have somebody that's connected, but that who we can hold accountable, Howard, in a seat or in a position that we can definitely hold accountable, but also check in on, but you also know that they're going to make sure that they have the community's mind and heart in mind. So again, jump in. I've been a campaign manager for quite a few races, and with every candidate, I've always asked, my first question is, why are you running? And if you don't know, or if you cannot answer that, or if it's just about you, then don't run. And I'm being very serious, because we don't need selfish people anymore in these seats, because it's not about a title. You are being put in a seat because the people elected you. Well, guess what? That should hold a lot of weight, and your integrity should kick in to say, you know what? I have a lot of people under me, and I want to make sure I do this job, perf- not perfectly, but ensure that I'm doing it to the best of my ability. Everything might not go well, but I'm going to ensure I do it to my best of ability. But if you can't answer that first question, do not run, because that is not for you. Find your other lot in the community. But if you can answer that, and you are sure and you understand that piece, then run and let me know so I can back you up. Because we need, it's not about the age that's in the seat, because I believe that anybody, it doesn't matter what age you are, but it does matter about your heart and your integrity. So a lot of people need to be replaced, and they need to have their seats filled. So we need to have some folks that can run. Let me know if you're gonna run. Anybody.
I agree with you. We need more people to represent our community and not self or monetary interests, because we need more people who are going to run for office that are going to reflect their community and be the voice of their community. Because if you are not the voice of your community and you're just there for selfish reasons or for monetary reasons, then you have no place being or representing the public interest. Um, but it was so good talking to you, Raquel. It's always a pleasure meeting with you. I love your energy. I love your presence. And I'm excited that Williamson County Democratic Party has started this relationship with you guys, the Equity Alliance. I hope, we can continue to build upon this relationship. How can we help each other? Bring out the voter turnout and turn Tennessee blue, or get just more people out to vote. But I do appreciate your time and appreciate all the work that your organizations does for our community. Again, if you are watching, please donate to the Equity Alliance at theequityalliance.org, and become a Pledge 21 member. And if you can't do that, every little bit counts. Please donate to the organization. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you again next time.